Hope you're having a great day. Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio as we continue to have so many interesting and in some cases really important conversations about the amazing work that's happening in the trenches across the state of Mississippi to make this place such a great place to live, work, and play. And you look back on the last week and so many awesome conversations. And I still go back to someone said, when are you going to get to what happens when you get to a point where you've had all the conversations? And that's so funny to me to hear someone say that, because the situation, the condition in Mississippi or the nation is always going to change the nature of the conversations. And there's no way to ever have all the conversations, for God's sake. So here we are, 1,200 conversations into the now 4 years of doing the show. And there's still so much rich content to go get and talk about. Man, I'm so fortunate to be in this position. I looked at the schedule this morning, though, and I was like super thrilled, because anytime my friend Steve Azar, the host of In the Mississippi Minute, the music and cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi, the guy who wrote the new state song for Mississippi, and on and on and on and on, anytime he joins me for my show, we have a good time, because I genuinely love this guy. What he does for the state is so important. He's such a great ambassador for this state, and it's just fun to visit with him. So with that said, let me welcome my friend Steve Azar back to the Ricky Matthews Show. How you doing, Steve?
My brother, it's been a while. Hello to you guys. Hey, Kyle in the background.
Yeah, he's always good to recognize you, Kyle, isn't he?
I forgot to turn my mic on. Good morning, Steve. Yeah, it's great to be here. Yeah, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing when I'm just here.
Kyle, listen, Steve, you can set your clock by Kyle. Kyle is always there. For all this time he and I worked together, I can depend on this guy.
I wish I had a Kyle.
I know, you need to. You need to go to listen. In a Mississippi Minute needs to be video.
Shh. Hey, listen, you know what? I do have a Kyle. His name is Chris, and he's my tour manager. So trust me, I have a guy that with my real gig that is so extremely important and so wonderful. Hey, been with me for 24 years, and that's since he was basically a kid, and he's been wonderful. His dad managed Billy Ray in the day and Cyrus, and worked with Molly and all the Hannah Montana stuff, I guess. And Chris said Molly was a little girl running around, And so, but Chris came up in the family and the business, and he's just been spectacular.
Hey, well, that's really important these days, especially, frankly, because, and we'll come back to this in a second, because I want to start on another point, and we'll come back to that in just a second. But it's important to have a Chris because of the work that you're doing with Viking Cruise Lines. We've talked about it before, but every time you post about it, you're using audio visual in such a cool way. The stage looks neat. People seem truly engaged around that. But you got a lot of logistics that are involved in doing that regular resident show that you're doing with Viking. Again, we'll come back to that in a second. But, hey, what I wanted to, listen, man, we're a week away now from the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. You are talking to so many people across the country. I mean, this is not a political question. I'm sure that it has political implications, of course, but what are people saying to you when they contemplate what almost happened that day? I mean, gosh, have you seen the geometric representation of if he'd have turned his head a little bit this way or that way, it'd be dead. The guy would be dead today. The horrors that we don't know about as a result of that not being a successful assassination attempt. When you talk to people, what are they saying to you? What's the conversations that go on in Steve's world about that?
I've been missing a call with my ex-Secret Service guy who's about 6'5" or 6'6", a big, tall, not crazy muscular built, but just very long, wiry, tough. I met him many years ago. He got me to go to he's a big brother at Walter Reed, and he'd been telling me, if you don't come with me to Walter Reed, and when I finally did, he took me, and that's when I wrote Soldier Song. When I walked out of there, just in total sadness, walking out of there. But with that said, I was wanting to get his viewpoint, because I can tell you this: in his day, he guarded many presidents. he would talk about this area that they would guard. And it was so extreme. I was like, why are you going so far away? He goes, Steve, because this and this, marksmen and da-da-da, and people that could shoot, people. And I'm going like, I think of assassination attempts as people that are in the crowd, or you know what I mean? I don't necessarily think about people perched up on some rooftop somewhere, or maybe somewhere in a hotel room somewhere, but it's closer. And he used to explain to me how far they had to go, and everything inside that area was like meticulously with a fine-tooth comb combed over like multiple times, right? So for me, I mean, I'm going to agree with there. You can't disagree with everybody on this. There was a huge ball dropped. I'm thinking about the man that passed away. I'm thinking about the ones that were critically injured, and then you think about President Trump that got away with saving his life. His grandkids would have seen him die on TV. I mean, it was an awful scenario. Us in the publishing world and music world, we want everybody to love each other. We know that's impossible as much as we want it. But I was really disappointed in the strategic lack of there. Really, really disappointed that they dropped the ball. There's no way that there's no explanation behind it that is gonna be relevant, except they totally screwed up. But they totally screwed up, and they cost a man his life, and cost a wife her husband, and children their dad. And that, to me, is the big loss. But there's no excuse. So, where's the sadness on that side? And I guess I've seen our Secret Service, the girl that's Cheatham. Is Cheatham? Is that right?
Yeah. Cheatham.
The excuse about the roof and with that angle. I mean, that angle. Look, I'm scared of roofs. I've got pitches that are like that. I'm scared of climbing mountains and skiing down them. But that roof right there, that would have been that's no incline. What I see. And so with these excuses, she doesn't seem like it looks like she's digging a hole. And
listen, Steve, she clearly, my view is over her head. But listen, when I was a paramedic, I was a paramedic in Gerald Ford's motorcade once.
Wow.
I handled media once on a trip for Reagan down to the coast. I have been involved with both President Bush's and with W. Bush many, many times after Hurricane Katrina. He came to coastal Mississippi 12 times. And wow. Since I was working in the recovery effort with Haley Barber, had the opportunity to be in very small meetings with him many, many times. And so I've been around the advanced teams. I've been around the Secret Service. George W. Bush in particular after Hurricane Katrina, because of the work that was happening, the wars that were happening, and the terrorism, and I've never seen security like that before. It was remarkable in so many different ways. Yeah. And to think that they had this Iranian, this really good information about this Iranian assassination attempt, and that they had that for weeks up to the event in Butler, Pennsylvania, and to think that there was a roof less than 150 yards away that had a direct line of sight to the stage. That doesn't compute in any of my. Listen, I'm a really objective guy, man. People make mistakes. That doesn't compute in any way for me.
Well, it's a mistake. That mistake shouldn't or couldn't ever be made. It couldn't be made. I mean, you're talking about people, they're saying 26 minutes now. They were saying there's a guy for 26 minutes. Is that true? Is that what I've read? Is that true? I don't ever know. But wasn't there a 26-minute window when this guy was spotted?
They saw him with a rangefinder.
Oh, my.
They took a picture with him with a rangefinder.
I mean, and I just don't even know the words to say. And I'm just saying that they got to be held accountable.
Yeah, but hey, Steve, here's what's so unfortunate about it. You and I've talked about this before. We spent many segments on my show and your show talking about this. And I mentioned this last week. I spent a whole segment last week thinking about it and talking about it. But the problem with media today, the biased media in the world, we don't have enough people focused on shining the light of truth on wrongs. We don't have that enough. We don't have where people can trust situations. People don't know what to trust. So already the conspiracy theories, there's a second gunman already, a theory about that already. I mean, it's crazy. All these alternate universe theories start to come forward, and people are so easily misled because we don't trust media. We don't trust government. Listen, part of the role of media is to speak truth to power. I spent a whole career doing that. Yeah. Speaking truth to power, because there's a lot of junk that can happen inside government, and we gotta stay focused on that. But it's a scary moment in that we don't have media we can trust. Media was complicit to create an environment that put that young man in a position where he felt like he should go shoot the president.
Yeah.
And then you think about, what are your friends, and when you're talking to your friends, what do they say about if this kid had been successful? What would be the situation?
I don't know. I think that I can just tell you they all agree. Everybody agrees with there's only one answer, and that is a big screw up, but it's a screw up that cannot happen. So I don't understand. There's nobody that doesn't agree with what you're saying or what I'm saying. There's no other answer to it. It's just
it's a crazy time. Hey, we'll continue our conversation with Steve Azar when we get back on the other side. We'll see you after this. Hey, welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my friend Steve Azar with us. Steve, last week, as I mentioned, I shared some thoughts about, in fact, last Wednesday, I shared some thoughts about this whole media thing that you and I are talking about. And in fact, tomorrow I'm going to expand on this in really good detail. But one of the quotes that I shared on that show was a quote from Lady Bird Johnson, and she was talking about the environment. But tomorrow what I'm going to do is challenge the listeners to think about this quote, replace the word environment with community. But here's the quote. The environment is where we all meet, where we all have mutual interest. It is not only a mirror of ourselves, but a focusing lens on what we can become. And so I replaced that with community. The community is where we all come together. But this notion of it's a mirror. The community is a mirror on ourselves. It makes a statement. It's a focusing lens about what we can become. And I've thought a lot about that. So, it may be that we can't control media and we can't control all the misinformation. But you know what we can control? We can control what we do. What do we see when we look in the mirror? Are we proud of our actions on social media? Are we proud of our actions in the community? Are we giving back to the community? What I love about that quote as it applies to you, Steve, when you look in the mirror, you probably look at it humbly, but you look at it in a way that says, I'm doing a lot to bring it better, whether through your foundation work or whether through be giving back and, contributing your skill sets to communities across America, writing songs that bring attention to the condition, there's just so much there. I wish more people would look in the mirror and say, you know what, there's more I can do. There's more I can do to give back to the community. There's a role I can play to not be complicit, to get people worked up about something like Trump, for example.
Yeah.
What do you see when you look in the mirror?
Well, I see that I need to go see my Dr. Teresina can work on me. No, I'm kidding. I got to keep up with Reba. No. What I don't ever look at myself in that light at all when I'm looking in the mirror. But I know if philosophically you're asking me to look in the mirror. Yeah. I examine myself plenty of times. I don't pat myself on the back unless I'm kidding. Like this morning, I woke up, and it's funny. We was talking baseball, Kyle, and Ricky is so funny. I woke up, I said, "You never got to experience the young me in a catcher's uniform throwing out guys at first base, or you never got to see that." And she starts singing "Glory Days" because I wanted to hear her sing really bad first thing. And she's an awful singer, but she sings "Glory Days," and I love it. So it's a joke that we have. That's I get. I think that your mirror for me a lot of times is, people come up and they thank you and you go, oh, that means a lot to them that we're doing this. And then, of course, I always go, it's not just me, it's a bunch of us. And I am one piece of the puzzle. And then, I get to be the face of a lot of things that a lot of people, but not only in behind the scenes, wrapped around me, don't get credit for. So I always think about the team that does it. So anytime I get a compliment, I reach out to a lot of our volunteers, a lot of our friends who give so much of their time. I let them know, hey, anytime somebody thanks me, I'm thanking you guys. So they'll hear it because it's a team effort. Man, it's so much to do when you want to do good. It takes an effort and so many people involved. And I'm just in awe that everybody, we've been doing the Delta Soul Celebrity Golf Charity event for our foundation. We're going to be on our 14th year. And I swear, I keep going, how can the same incredible people say yes every year when I see that they go through a lot of difficulties? It's your own autopilot, but you have to do everything all over again. So there's no autopilot. You just can't just hit a switch. And every year owns different challenges that you just didn't have before. So it's a constant evolving challenge. And they constantly keep coming back and giving their time. It is amazing to me. In fact, as part of this argument that I'm going to make tomorrow I'm going to talk tomorrow a lot about volunteerism and giving back to the community and so on. But one of the stories I'm going to share, and I'll share it with you now because I think it's kind of relevant to the conversation we're having now. I ran across a speech that Coach Mike Tomlin gave. And what he brought a bunch of athletes together, and he asked them a series of athletic questions, like who believes they're the fastest person in the room, who thinks they're the strongest person in the room, and went on, through a list of sort of athletic attributes. And then he said, of course, he was really kind of hooking them essentially, but then he says to the group, none of this matters. None of that matters. Because he said he knows a lot of people who are capable, really capable. But he said he knows a lot fewer people who are willing. Mm. And he said there's a will is a powerful thing. And he said, ask yourself what you're willing to do. And, I used to be really frustrated in the community because I'd find, CEOs in the community often have the resources and the employees and the money to be able to contribute to the community. And I was always puzzled why some businesses give back and other businesses didn't. And I would be so frustrated by those that didn't because they were capable, but they didn't have the willingness, the will to want to do it. Why are so many musicians so willing to give back? I mean, you say I think of Rodney King and Can't We All Just Get Along? Yeah. But you guys do believe that. But everyone that I have met that you're associated with them because you guys come together in these kind of foundational ways to make the place a better place to be. Why is it that you find more musicians who are willing to give their capabilities? I know the ones that are, and I love, first of all, Coach Tomlin. There's an example of why he's never had a losing season in the NFL, right? I mean, I would run through 11 walls for that guy. I mean, he seems to be the epiphany of what a coach should be. And I also love that the Pittsburgh Steeler way. I mean, how many coaches have they had since we were kids? I mean, 3. Yeah. Right. Has it been 2, 3? There's been 3. I mean, it's unbelievable that I look.
Kyle is shaking his head because he knows this stuff.
Well, for me, Kyle, I remember 3 coaches, right?
Yeah, Chuck Knowles, and then the other guy behind him. He's on the morning show now. I can't remember his name.
Bill Cowher.
Yeah, there you go, Bill. Yep.
Yeah, and then Tomlin. That's it. I mean, that's insane. Look at every other sports team. But I think that's an important thing, that word will. I've never thought about that. But there is plenty of people that are capable, but who's got the will to do it? And you're right. But there's certain people in our business, and more than not, I think that once my group of folks reaches success, a lot of our stories are similar, that we've gone down these really gravelly, potholey roads. They're very similar. I mean, as I've interviewed a lot of my friends we've never talked about that. It's so funny, until you started doing your show, until I started doing my show, I've never we've never talked about our past, but it's amazing how they're so identical. And just growing up in a different part of the country or different, whatever, different region, but literally we went through the same thing, about 85% of it. And sometimes, like Mark Slaughter's, from the band Slaughter, me and him, our version is so parallel, it's scary. You could put me in his situation, me and his, and it'd have been the same exact scenario. But they're always willing to give. I think that in my heart, I feel like, man, what a blessing to get to do this for a living, in spite of the challenges with the economic part, when you expect to, with the streaming and all that part. But man, there's so much positives to the economic part, and I will never complain. And
well, what's interesting is, someone said to me a long time ago, and I never forgot it, because obviously, in my role as a CEO, I was typically a pretty busy guy. I mean, in a lot of ways, I didn't even own my schedule. So, but they said, if you want someone to do something in the community, find a busy person. Because
there you go. Yeah.
Find a bit, because they have, first of all, they compartmentalize in a lot of things. But they say yes to a lot of people, and I always say, if I had a fault, actually, to be honest with you, in the community, is I never said no. I would, you want me to lead something, I'm going to lead it. You want me to do something, I'm going to do it. I was going to always be that guy. I think about, look, there's so many great examples, but I was touched by the Rock for Children effort that involved all these different artists. And you had a song on there, a castle is our home, your home.
Castle is your home.
Okay, but see, again, someone asked you to do something and you said yes. You even wrote a song that's on this album.
I love it. I mean, that was about.
Do you ever say no?
I rarely say no, because it's fun, especially when you get asked. Right, you and I were talking about this very important subject that you sent me the lyrics the other day, and I loved it. And so all you do is just kind of move them around, and you and I are going to co-write that song. But the bottom line is, when it comes to what you know how to do, it's kind of hard to say no, especially when it matters. I mean, like, I have no excuse to say no to that. I mean, like, no excuse. And I don't even think about an excuse. I'm honored. You're honored and humbled that you're asked to be a part of something with Alice Cooper and Steve Cropper and Slash. Yeah, it's a great project.
Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll pick up right here with my friend Steve Azar, the music and cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi. We'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizen Bank Studio. I have my friend Steve Azar, the music and cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi. He wrote the state song, One Mississippi, and had a great career in Nashville and lives in Greenville. And he's a Delta guy to the depth of his soul, and has written about it about every which way but loose. And it's a great story. Steve, I enjoy talking to you about it. I never know where these conversations are going to go.
You can't. It's just kind of. I'll prepare for you, but I never go there.
Yeah. I literally don't prepare, because I don't know. I just don't know. I keep up with you. I keep up with your social media posts, and
I do too. I keep up with yours.
Try to listen to your show when I can, and your just wide variety of guests that you get, and these interesting conversations that you have. It's always fun to kind of touch base with you. I saw where your Gwen had a birthday recently. She's been a great partner to you, hasn't she?
If she can hear that, I don't want her to know. No, she's been amazing. Boy, you did it. We both did it, right?
Yeah.
We both figured out, by the grace of God, because when you're young like we were, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit. We've seen a lot of our friends go through really troubling marriages and divorces, and kids getting involved and being just a victim of that. And it's not easy. Watching a lot of my, I always go, man. Nothing else can be painful or more painful. So I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. And she's always been a very trustworthy, one. And I feel like no matter if whatever I do that's semi-bad, it lets her down. I don't like to let her down.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll tell you a funny story. It's not funny, actually. It's a kind of revealing story. I was asked to be, when I was working for the Sun Herald, there was a big corporate effort that I got involved in. And one of the corporate guys called me and said, are you going to do it? I said, I think I'm going to do it. And he sort of alluded to, what does your wife think? And I said, well, I'm not concerned about what she's going to think. We have a great marriage and blah, blah, blah. So, fast forward a little bit later on, someone said to me is you should never brag about your marriage.
Yeah.
And I said, what? What the hell kind of feedback is that? Well, this guy, when he asked me what would my wife think, and I said I've got a great marriage, he was offended by that. This guy literally was offended by it, and this was a higher up guy in the company, and he told somebody else that I bragged about my marriage. And, it turns out he had a terrible situation. The truth is a lot of people are not in good marriages. So I as a general rule, I don't talk much about it. I'm proud that Ann and I have had a wonderful marriage, a wonderful life, wonderful kids. You know what I mean? It's
understood with you guys. You don't have to talk. I never talk about it. I mean, I'll bring up, if anything, I poke fun at it, just to get a laugh here and there. It seems to be the place to go sometimes for the perfect laugh, and she laughs it off. And I mess with her all the time, and she just can take it, Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things where we don't have to say anything, but if we do, they deserve the compliment when we do it.
Well, what I tell you how it worked for me. I've shared this story before, but I remember the very first week that I was home after I retired. I was sitting there and I'm listening to Ann talk to the kids, and for different things. They were just talking, and I literally started to cry. And when Ann got off the phone, she said, "What is wrong?" I said, "I'm watching you have the life you were having while I was working, and the role that you're playing in keeping this family together. It's unbelievable, and to see it,
it's remarkable,
and to see what I was missing because I was working all the time." Oh my God, man! I mean, the role that she played, and when you have somebody that's the Rock of Gibraltar standing behind you, you can then go out and do your career. You can then go out and say yes to a lot of people and try to contribute back to the community.
That's exactly. That's it. You hit it on the nail. Hit the nail on the head, whatever they say. The bottom line is that just said it all right there. We're able to go do those things because no matter how nuts our brides get driven, because they do, there's no way.
Yeah.
Kids at that young age and all that, and what they put them through, and the worry they put them through, and the constant. I mean, once they're born, they're constantly having to work and move and protect and nurture and feed and correct and challenge. I mean, they're the hardest job in the world.
It is.
So I give Gwen great credit. I mean, we've been blessed for sure.
But you got a kid who's a producer, another one who's a chef. You got another one that's in medical school. And I look at my kids and I'm so proud of them. And I think about when Ann was saying, "What did you make on that test?" to any of our kids, and they would say, "I made a 99." She would be pissed because they didn't make 100.
Yeah.
I mean, Gwen must have been that same kind of mother.
Well, our kids were very, very, very good in school. Our oldest Strack didn't love it, and he sort of bucked the system, being the creative one, just sort of his way. But his IQ was off the charts. We had to get him tested. But he, but did incredibly well in college. But now Cecilia and Adrian, their grades. Like Adrian said it the other day. He's perfect. I guess a perfect doctor. He goes, "I love studying and learning." I said, "What did you just say?" He goes, "I love to study. I love to learn." I said, "I'm glad you're going to be a doctor because you're going to have to study your whole life. You're going to have to constantly learn in your profession for the sake of your patients." And he goes, "I just love it." And you know why he studies? He studies with ESPN or what it's Sports On. Yeah. And he's a big NBA guy. He loves college basketball, loves pro basketball. And he studies while it's on, and he's literally able to watch, or know what's going on and can tell you everything that's going on and still study and comprehend and absorb all that. I don't understand how that brain works. But I can tell you I can write a song and change a diaper at the same time.
Yeah.
Noise at the same time because I've done it. So maybe we're all built to do things different. But it's just, isn't it cool, our children, how different they are, but they have a common thread, obviously, that weaves through them, that connects them. And it connects each dot, that lets them know that they're siblings. But I love the difference in them. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
Oh, I know. Hey, look. I was having a conversation with someone. Kelsey Kell is her name, and she's running an organization down here that focuses on childhood obesity. And we got into a discussion about, heck, man, by the time kids are 5 years old, they're kind of the person they're going to be. I mean, you got to get them early. You got to create habits early, whether it's healthy eating or whether it's how they're using their mind or their behavior and all these things. The role that the mother plays in that environment, especially when you got a father. I mean, in your case, you were on the road a lot, man. I mean, Lord have mercy.
I mean, I don't get a lot of credit for raising them, but I always take the credit for the good parts. That's our job.
Of course you do.
It must have been me that was there for that one day out of the 28 days. During that time, I must have just fixed. Oh, that must be me. And that Gwen obviously takes it and she goes, starts singing Glory Days. And there you go.
Man, I don't take any of that for granted, though. And one of the beauties of having the opportunity to retire relatively young is the chance to contemplate all that and think about how damn lucky I am. I mean, that's how I feel about it at the end of the day.
I love seeing you post in the morning. When I see your sunrise out your back door and you see that, I swear I can see you looking out there and appreciating Ann. I swear.
Yeah.
I know
living in the moment,
Yeah, you're so good at it. But by the way, you're not retired. I just wanted you to know that.
I don't see, it's so interesting because people say that all the time, but I don't see doing this show as work. I mean, I see this show as a gift. I really believe that. I feel that. I get more from it than I give. I love that. I love the feedback I get from people, though, that pay attention. And I had an interesting experience. I was at the Mississippi Municipal League, and a guy from, where was he from? I remembered it. It's not coming back to me right now. Horn Lake, Mississippi. That's right. He's an alderman in Horn Lake, Mississippi. And he came up to introduce himself to me, and he said, "Hey, Ricky, how you doing? I listen to your show." Oh, and immediately I go to outdoors. I'm thinking it's outdoors he listens to because he's in Horn Lake, Mississippi. He said, No. I know your show. Your coast show. I watch it on SuperTalk TV. I said, "You're kidding me." He said, "Yeah, because through you, I get to learn what's going on the coast." Steve, you never know how you're going to touch somebody with anything that you're discussing.
Yeah, you said it's been this cherry on top that I never knew this cherry would come. I mean, this team SuperTalk, and obviously getting to become dear friends with you guys. And obviously, I respect you so much. And so it's been a joy. It's just been a joy to Steve and Kim and Will and the whole Alex and Cammie and Houston. And I mean, everybody, Gary, everybody, we love them all. I mean, they've been so good to us, Robert, the whole team. I don't want to leave anybody out because I
know it's hard. You start mentioning names and you get in trouble. But
Paul,
just Steve's vision for creating a company unlike anything, and there's not another company like it in America. It's an amazing story. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Steve Azar. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. I have my friend Steve Azar. And, man, he's always fun to spend some time with. Steve, we've talked about it before, but one of the things that I noticed from the residency that you're doing in Greenville for a Viking cruise line, we can remind people who have not heard us talk about it before what that's all about. But one of the things I noticed is that you get a little fancier with the production. It seems that it's the visual aspect of it is just you've got time to kind of play around a little bit and make it, just improve it. You've really enjoyed doing that, haven't you?
I spent a blast, but I got to tell you, it's my team. I would settle for white lights, right? Not moving and all this, but man, I've got Eric and Cindy Fowler. They've been with me since the start, since I moved back. I stumbled across them with my first charity event. And then my man Kevin Willis and Russell Arnold. There's a foursome there that is just so powerful, and everything's stored. So you just get in and make sure everything's working. But Eric and Cindy come in and go, "We got some new lights." I mean, then everybody's asking about new lights, new this, new that. Oh yeah, look at those lights. I mean, look at those things. You see, I don't get to see. I posted that because I went, wow. Look at that. And then the screen behind there, they have like tulips blowing up and flowers, magnolias. I'm going like, I turn around every once in a while, I look up there and I go, what the heck is that? And they go, oh, that's something new, And Kevin's going, I got new gear. I'm going like, okay. But, they're so excited about it, and I give them the total freedom. And I got to tell you, they are 100% responsible for visually what's happening. We're 100% responsible for the message on the stage and the entertainment part. And so when we meet together, it's become a really cool thing. It's so
okay, so what Steve has is a relationship with Viking Cruise Lines. They stop in in Greenville, and they come to a local arts center, and it's literally a Steve Azar in residence performance. I mean, it's a dream for someone like Steve, because it's not just because it gives him an opportunity not to have to travel all over the country, not that he still doesn't do some of that, but it's a dream because he gets to share his passion, to tell the story of Mississippi, tell the story of the Mississippi Delta, and that is in itself cool, isn't it?
You know what I love? It is the best. I get to come home and have nights because it's a day thing. But you know what? I'm going to say this. This is what the beautiful part is. There's a group of folks that are trying to save that building. Some people go, oh, it needs to be apartments, or turn them into such and such. That school was pre-flood and barely post-flood, and where we do it at. And I watch people from all over the world come in, and they look up at it. The first thing they do is look up at it like, oh my. Like, you know what I mean? It's so impressive. And, it's like walking into history. And that's what Viking Cruise Line's all about. So not only are they walking into it, they're getting to, we're feeding them Mississippi, of course, Greenville and the Delta. But you know me, I go beyond that. And so we're giving them the story. And I get to tell the story of my life there. And I guess it's pretty interesting because we're ranked number one. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. I remember my agent back in the day used to go, Steve, your show is half or more Mississippi. You're playing for the world. Don't you think you need to just make it a little bit more mainstream? And I go, they love it. And no, I'm not going to do that. I think a lot of that was the reason I came home, because I wanted to just do that. But the good Lord is incredible. I mean, it's like, talk about ship coming in. We're employing all these people. We've already made what we pretty much are sure in a year and a half, it's made over a $10 million economic impact on our community.
Yeah.
People were paying really well. All the businesses that are getting paid, the money that circulates. And Glenn McCullough was here, and Mike McGreevy, and I took them through the process of what we're doing. And they go, you made that thing. So you're looking over the next 10 years, you're going to look close to $100 million economic impact. I'm like, that is beautiful to hear. So we're going to save that building, and we're going to build on the south side. And we're working on that. So because we have to coexist with other things that are going on in the arts, which our foundation supports.
Yeah,
so,
right.
I mean, I'm walking not on eggshells, but I care about that. So we can't let my show just, we all need to coexist. So now we've got to go add on to the other side. So like the Mary C did in the coast, like Becky Curry did this most amazing thing with the Mississippi School of the Arts. Gwen and I went with Becky to that school, and how important it is when I walked out of there, and this commitment that she's made for her area. It is astonishing. It is brilliant. It is compassionate at its highest level. And I am a fan of Representative Becky Curry because she loves the arts, man.
Yeah.
We don't have people like that fighting for it. The arts are gone.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you.
Guess what? The world's going to be a lonely place without people continuing to create art.
Hey, so we're out of time, but I've got so many other questions. I'm curious about the show changes from show to show, and does a lineup change, and what's the impact been on the musicians that have been with you for so long? So much else to talk about, but we'll do that the next time. It's been great to catch up with you, my friend. I'm glad to see you're doing well.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
You are the best. This has been Steve Azar, the music and cultural ambassador of the state of Mississippi, the host of In a Mississippi Minute right here on SuperTalk Mississippi Radio. And somebody ought to look up on Spotify or your favorite music platform, and do a Steve Azar channel. You'll be glad you did. A lot of cool stuff. You'll say, "Oh, he wrote that. He sung that." That's the experience that you'll have. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.